Welcome to My Creative Corner 3, a podcast about quilting, crafting, creativity, and life in a northern town. You'll find show notes at mycreativecorner3.wordpress.com. You can leave a comment, you can sign up for my patron site, you can purchase a virtual cup of coffee, or even sign up for the newsletter. Come back weekly and we'll chat. My name is Vicki, and welcome to the podcast. Hello, everyone, and this week is brought to you by the color yellow. Yes, yellow. My goodness, is there a lot of yellow going on in my garden right now. It's 4 different variety of flowers that are coming on, and they're all bright sunshine yellow. There's a perennial sunflower that's a tall pom-pom flower. There's 2 or 3 daisy looking like, straw flower looking like things. I don't really know what they are. And they're really, really pretty. You know, it's funny how the garden seems to bloom in colors, the purples and then the blue purples and then the oranges and white. I have white flowers. They all seem to bloom roughly at the same time. So I don't really have like continuous color in a wide variety throughout the summer. I usually is one themed color, and I didn't plan it that way. It's just nature does that. And so this week is yellow. The garden seems to be settling in and growing. It seems to be spreading out in the fairy garden. There's going to be a lot more work in the fairy garden next summer to make the lower level a little fuller and purchase a few more houses to make quite a village there. It has an upper deck and a first floor. The first floor is just now filling in. All the plants that I've transplanted have survived, and I'm really happy about that. We're really kind of stuck, as I said last time, on what to do about the back of the garden because there's just not a ton of room. So I think we've decided to not do anything for the rest of the summer. We wanted to put some little pine trees or arbor vitae. I don't know. And so when in doubt, don't is always something my grandmother said. And I just told my husband, if we're concerned about the property line, we think that it's roughly where they staked it out when they did all of the tree demolition. We have to just really decide what we want to do. And I don't have a huge opinion on it right now. It's open, it's wide open. It's very visible from all sides of the block. My yard is. So it kind of doesn't matter if I put a couple little trees back there or not. We may put some annual flowers back there that get real tall. Maybe we'll plant sunflowers. Maybe we'll do wildflowers, which is kind of what my husband wants to do, a strip of wildflowers. We'll see. There's room to plant some more, and we just have to try to decide what we want to do. And I think right now is not a time to make a decision. There's a lot on his plate, and he's going to be the one that does a lot of digging. Let's just wait a year, see what happens. So what other things have been going on that is yellow around here? Well, I've been working on a pandemic-themed bookshelf quilt. Our My Creative Corner 3 Facebook group has been doing a sew-along, and this week I got my top sewed together because next Wednesday, Angel of Halo Inspiration is doing videos, and she is collaborating with me on this. She is going to show some ideas about quilting, and I'm not sure I'll have my long arm open, and my fingers hurt way too much the last couple weeks to try to do any walking foot quilting on my domestic machine. But as I auditioned several big chunks of fabric that I have, I kept going back to Sunshine Yellow. And I'm not a huge yellow fan, I guess, but I love how the yellow goes with the white background that I picked for the books. I love this little Swiss dot, and it's yellow background, white Swiss dots, and it goes with the pandemic bookshelf quilt, which is probably what I'm going to call it. I made a little video about it on YouTube, and all of the things that came together on this particular quilt represents things that I have been doing or things I've been seeking or renewing of ideas on things that I've always enjoyed. So, well, what did I always enjoy? I've always enjoyed rock hounding, and I have a Petoskey stone fossil fabric. It's our state stone, and I love, love, love rock hounding. You know, I've talked about it, and I even picked up new Petoskey stones this summer, and so I put a book that has the Petoskey stone fabric. The other things on there is I found an oven mitt. Yeah, oven mitt fabric in my stash. And I've been doing a lot of cooking and researching different recipes. I've been using the Instant Pot, not been baking like lots of people because I don't want to, gain even more weight. Actually, I'm trying to lose weight. So trying to find all these great recipes. And the oven mitt, I thought, represented that really, really well. I also have things in there like ladybugs, and there's some botanical themed, with the garden. I have indoor plants. I paper pieced 2 little tiny spiky succulents, and you know me, I have picked up the house plant bug. It's one of those things that I was always interested in plants as a kid. We always had 1 or 2, and then I moved around a lot, so I never kept plants in the house until the last year or so. I decided, man, these fake plants are bugging me. I'd like some real plants in this house. It's kind of a dark house, so I'm going to have to get a light for the plants, which I never did last winter, here pretty soon, because the house is kind of dark already. And the plants are kind of looking a little, they need more sun. Yes, they do. They look a little pale. That's the word. So I have been going out occasionally. We're not as locked down as Southern Michigan, but we still are pretty locked down. But we can go to Lowe's, and we can go to stores, and we can go outside and do outside things. So I've been scouring the clearance racks at Lowe's, and I have found lots of little tiny house plants for $1, and I bought one for $3. So my dollar plants are like the African violet I bought. I think for $2 I bought another succulent. It's like a zebra succulent in a cute little planter that looks like tile. I bought a lucky bamboo for $1. I bought a calico for $1. Yeah, I have bought quite a few plants. I'm peeking over at my plant area. The other thing is I bought a couple of, more expensive plants. I spent $5 for a dragon tree. I think it's a Draconia. I'm not familiar with this. Looks like a spiky palm with a braided trunk. 2 of the trunks have lost all their leaves, and I don't know what I'm doing with it. I've researched it. I have read the label, and so far, only one little trunk has leaves, and the tips are brown, so I'm assuming they overwatered it. And I moved it from one place that didn't get tons and tons of sun to a much warmer and more sun in facing south. We'll see if it likes that better until it gets cold, because then it will freeze out there and I'll have to come inside under the fake sun that I'm going to buy. Any tips on dragon trees? Because I've never had one before. I've always wanted a palm, or love these spiky plants, and this one was it was an offer I couldn't refuse. I had to pick it up, right? So that's on my pandemic quilt. The other thing that is on my pandemic quilt is a little tiny block I found in my orphan bin. I wanted to have a quilting reference in there, and it's a tiny little paper pieced star. It's about 4 inches, and it sits above a teacup. Those are 2 cups are on the shelf, one for coffee, one for tea. And the little paper piece star is a double reference. It's referencing my love of quilting and how I spend most of my waking hours either quilting or thinking about quilting or podcasting about quilting or writing a blog about quilting. Yeah, I really spend a lot of time in the brain space thinking about quilting. But stars also represents, over the spring and summer, my husband and I have gone on a lot of nature rides. We've gone in the evening and at dark to go look for full moon, comets, the meteor shower. We've seen shooting stars. We've seen different constellations. So that's also on my bookshelf. That's the fun thing about a bookshelf quilt is that it's slightly improv. There's no, pattern for it. It's kind of some general guidelines. And Angel did a really good job on her YouTube videos that you can find either on her Facebook page, my group, or on YouTube itself. But you can personalize this, and I wanted it to be white in the background for disinfectant, and the yellow is my pursuit of sunshine and looking for the joy during this time. I love the golden hour and sunlight and taking photos. That's one thing I did not put on the quilt was a camera or a phone or photos, but I might quilt something like that on there. I've really thought hard about things I wanted represented on here without making it too literal or overt or punch you in the face with things. You could make this 3D. Angel's going to hang a mask on hers, having a pocket on it to tuck the mask in. I could even put some recipes in a pocket on there if I really got ambitious. But I'm not really sure, that I'm going to do that because, I'm to the point now where the top is done and I'm kind of done. I'm ready to finish it up by quilting it. So when you want to do something for yourself as a memory quilt, the bookshelf quilt is a great way to personalize it to what you want to remember, what you're trying to commemorate, what you're trying to tell a story about. And the books are literally telling the story. I mean, this is really an amazing quilt. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. It's a lot of vertical seaming. I somehow or another, when I starched it and pressed it and steamed it, my shelves, even though I measured them all really well, and there's of course stretch and shrinkage in here, I have to block it because there is a little bit of difference in the width from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to officially block this quilt to keep it rectangular and squared on the corners. I think that a little bit of wonkiness is okay. That doesn't generally bother me, but I'm going to really work hard on trying to keep this square and then let it dry completely for several days before I try loading it. So I'm probably not going to have it done before the video comes out next Wednesday. But I'm going to try to have it done before the end. It's probably not going to be bound, but I'm going to at least have it done. And I really am not sure what I want to do for quilting. I'm probably going to wait and watch Angel's video to get some inspiration. So I really have to say I've enjoyed making this quilt. I still have a couple of irons in the fire, with the longer term projects, and that would be the Kinship Fusion Sampler. Took a couple days off, so I have now officially derailed the one block a day. I made it up to almost 40, so that's good, right? I knew I wasn't going to keep it up for the whole 100 blocks, but it was a good jump start. And I will probably pick that up as I go along. The Dear Jane is in the timeout pile because I need to have a better brain space for the next group of blocks that are going to be harder. And, I've really thought about what I want to work on next. And I have a couple of ideas. And one of them is I have a layer cake that I bought at least a year, maybe 2 years ago. It's a Tula Pink Halloween layer cake. It was the De La Luna. And I've never been able to cut into it because they're 10 inches and there's some really big blocks. And I don't want to lose their like portraits of of women who have faces that look like sugar skulls. It's really, really cool and totally not something I would normally buy. But I really do kind of like how badass this quilt kit is with a gothic feel. Layer cake, not a kit, layer cake. So I didn't know what to do with it without ruining some of the prints. And in my group, Sharina mentioned that Karen of Just Get It Done Quilts has a YouTube channel, did a layer cake video. And I saw it pop up in my feed and I didn't take the time to watch it. I did. And I have to say, what she did with layer cakes is absolutely modern. It's cool and it's brilliant. I am going to do that with the Tula Pink layer cake for the fall. I probably have to blend in some other fabrics. I have to download all of the directions and make sure I have enough pieces because layer cakes are not all the same. Some have 20, some have 40, some have 44. And you got to have enough light with the dark, and so I'm gonna have to check that out. But it's Halloween, and the colors in it are not traditionally knock you in the face orange and purple and green. They're more subtle and blacks and grays, and so I think I have enough in the stash to pull it off. We'll see. But anyway, if you want to know what I'm going to be making next, it's the Just Get It Done layer cake quilt that she did a video on this week. She's done some great stash busting videos on using fat quarters and scraps and things like that. But yeah, check it out. I thought it was very brilliant and it looked really, really cute. I haven't done too much with the Cricut except make some masks. I think I have one more mask to make. My husband, I think, has hinted that he's going to buy it from a friend, and I was really angry. I said, honey, why would you pay your friend to make you a mask when I have your tartan? Because she has tartan fabric. When I have your tartan scrap, she gave it to me after she made your kilt. I can make one of those. And I think I'm going to make him a tartan mask lined with black Kona and maybe half and half on the front. Why does he want a dress tartan mask? Well, because the end of the month, one way or another, his mother's memorial service is happening, and he's decided he's wearing his kilt. After much deliberation about it, I'm like, she loved it when you wore the kilt. Wear your kilt. He doesn't really have a suit anyway, and I'm like, we're not fancy people, and the kilt will look great. He can wear whatever shirt he wants with it. And the other part of the whole thing is it's going to be very small. Where, like I said, Michigan is opening up where I live in the northern zone a little more than the metropolitan areas. So we can get our hair cut and the gyms are open and you can gather outside in smaller groups. I think it's less than 100 or 50 and inside is 10. Well, we have, I think the funeral home has an outdoor venue with a pavilion that we may be able to use. I think there's only going to be probably 30 people. My husband thinks maybe up to 50. So that's okay. And a lot of people aren't coming because, COVID and summer, and it's been months. Most people aren't even having funerals, but it's very important to my husband's family that they have some kind of memorial service, and I'm very supportive of that. So they're planning it all, actually. I'm just going to show up and make my husband a tartan mask. I have lots of tartan fabrics, and I told him, I said, tartan is wool. It'll be hot. The other part is the weave on it is pretty big, so it's going to have to be lined with cotton, at least one, maybe 2 layers of Kona. So just letting you know, I think personally to use a tartan wool for a mask for protection is not ideal. But for a dress occasion, when we're outside, when you technically don't really even probably have to wear a mask if you're going to stay 6 feet from people, but it's going to be a funeral. There's probably going to be a few people. They're going to come close. So he wants to have a tartan mask, and he goes, he hates wearing the mask anyway. He wears them, but he hates wearing a mask. And I think if it were tartan, it'll make it easier for him. So anyway, that's the story of why I'm going to make one more mask, and it's going to be my husband's contoured mask from with the Cricut, and hopefully the Cricut will cut it out. If it doesn't, then I will cut that tartan piece out by hand. And who thought when I saved the quilt maker gave me the scraps because she knew I was a quilter, and I never thought that I would be making a mask from some of the scraps. No, I really, really didn't. But at least it's not going to be sitting in the drawer unused, correct? So the other good news of what I plan to be doing in August and into September is I think that visiting family in Michigan it's going to be happening. I'm going to see my son and his wife this weekend for breakfast on their way through to a camping trip for their anniversary. Can you believe they've been married 2 years already? I can't believe it. My daughter's anniversary was last weekend. Yeah, last weekend. 12 years, and she's a baby. Let me tell you, she's very young. I was just a child when they got married. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, they've been married 12 years. I can't believe it. I feel really, really old. And I thought, maybe I should do something to commemorate my my youth, the 80s, because I've been feeling nostalgic about my youth. But anyway, I digress. So seeing people has been on the plan between people being ill and, the local outbreaks where people live and just the logistics of traveling several hours from home, going to the bathroom, getting food and gas and all that. So I think it's all worked out now. And we've got a game plan. And so I am definitely going to go and start seeing people before September and try to visit folks a few times before the snow gets butt deep. And yeah, I usually say another word, but I'll keep it clean today. So, that's in my plan. So I'm excited because we're getting close to what I consider the end of summer. Is probably only 2 weeks left. When Labor Day comes here, it's the official ending of tourist season, and schools, usually starting, and a lot of schools are starting. And I just want to give a heartfelt, I don't know what I would do, and really want to give you a hug if you're wrestling with that decision of school for your children. I know it's been a difficult decision for my family members, and some people have chosen to keep their kids home and homeschool because they have the ability. Others have lots of reasons why, and some of my family are sending their kids to the school. It all depends on your family and what's best for your kids. And but nobody has come to these decisions easily. And so, Labor Day is when summer officially closes, but fall tourism starts. Believe me, we have been inundated. I'll go to tourism next. But, so I'm like 2 more weeks of summer in my brain, and then the start of the new year starts in my brain. When school usually starts in September. That's the day after Labor Day. So this has been the most wonderful, slow, reminding me of my very early youth in the 70s summer, except for the fact that I have Shark Week and high-speed internet. Okay, it's a good thing I have that because I wouldn't want to go back to the 70s with none of those luxuries. But it's been great. I've been crafting and gardening, and I started reading a book. Yes, I am reading a book. I'm listening to an audiobook. The audiobook is actually one of my favorites, and I've listened to it and read it before. It's The Alchemist. The audiobook is amazing because it has Jeremy Irons as the narrator, and I actually bought it. Love that book. And so it's really kind of woo-woo, and it's got a little bit of magic in it, and it's got some really interesting concepts and blending of lots of ideas in this melting pot of a book that I absolutely adore. And it's really more of an allegory, or using a lot of metaphors, that this young shepherd is going on an adventure to go see the pyramids. That's really the basic thing. And so the whole story is his learning insight into following his dreams. So that's really what the whole thing is. So it's so cool and I love it. It's an old book. It's been around a long time, and it's one of the few outside of Lord of the Rings that I have come back to multiple times. And I thought, I just love listening to it. And Jeremy Irons' voice is amazing to listen to, especially when you're quilting and sewing. So I love that book. The other book I'm reading right now is, I don't know who it's by, but it is a mystery of sorts. It's a real story of facts of something that happened in my hometown in the 1980s. And it involves the murder of a local man who worked in the oil fields at the time. And it gets to all of the players and all of the facts that weren't necessarily brought out in the news and in the newspapers and all the different things. I was pretty young at the time when this happened. You know, I was just graduating high school. And so this horrible crime happened, and it had us, all the people in the story, because it's told like a story, that I knew, who were lawyers and policemen and the police chief and people in town. And so it's kind of like a weird, macabre, nostalgic trip about something that I kind of formulated an opinion about without knowing all of the facts. So I thought, I'm going to read this story. This person, it's a woman, and I can't remember her name, but it's Wicked Takes the Witness Stand is the name of the book. And I thought it's been extremely well done, telling the facts in a story type of easy to read manner. So it's, you go through the trials, you go through what happened, you go through, just a lot of things based on interviews and facts that were brought out, and all of the bumbling that happened. We're a small town, and in the 80s we were even smaller and didn't have access to a lot of sophisticated things. So yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting because I'm having to re-examine some of my thoughts of what I believed from what was in print and on the television over this murder. So yeah, it doesn't happen very often in northern Michigan, and it certainly doesn't happen very often in my town. Even though we have crime, it's usually, even now, the crime that we experience in my county is more about theft and property damage and things like that. Violent crimes are still pretty low, but it's been one of those urban legends circle around this murder. There's a lot of whispering in the community about this over the decades, because it's been a long time now. And I still know people who remember it very well. So it's been an interesting thing. But town has changed since the 80s. So they're giving places and stores and names of things. Some have survived all this time and are still in the same place. Many have not. And so it's kind of interesting, as I've forgotten that, oh yeah, I didn't realize, I forgot that store used to be there. Things that are very key to the murder. So it's just kind of funny how the memory is, actually, and how it doesn't take long when, say, one business closes and another one opens. In my brain, for some businesses, they're always going to be, say, Glenn's Market. Okay, that was our grocery. Well, it has been bought out and it's called something else, but I always call it Glenn's. Yeah, that's a sign of you're old and a grandma when you do that. Remember the store that used to be called this? Oh, yeah, that's right. It changed and was called this. Oh, yeah, that's right. In the 90s, it was bought and called this. Yeah, it got to a point where I didn't even know what my grandparents were talking about their hometown, because I would go visit them in their hometown. They didn't live up here. And I would be like, Mom, I don't even know what they're talking about. There's not even a farm on that corner anymore. It's been bought 4 times. The grocers changed names. I feel like I need to stay up to date, or no one's going to know what I'm talking about in another 5 years. So I think, that's the 2 books I've been reading. Television wise, I don't watch much TV, but it's Shark Week, people. Wrapping up Shark Week 2020. I have watched Nat Geo's version last week. I've watched some old reruns, but this is the Discovery Channel Shark Week. I've been a faithful watcher of this for every year. I don't even know. It's been 25 at least that they've done Shark Week. And I don't know why I love it so much. It's like this comforting friend that you get to visit every summer. And a lot of the scientists are the same people. They go and visit some places. You get to see some sharks that you saw a long time ago. They've made it. Maybe they're older. Maybe they're relatives, because now we have DNA and they DNA sharks. Can you believe that? So, yeah, so it's been fun watching Shark Week, kind of that comforting show that you can sew or hand sew or knit to. And the other things we've been watching is YouTube channels that we continue to follow, all the travel people that we really, really loved, of course, can't travel right now. So I have to say, a couple of them have fallen off our watch list, except one. And I'm enjoying it because they're a young couple who traveled all over the world for the last couple years. But they're taking the pandemic and being able to change their spin on what they want to do for traveling. It's called The Endless Adventure. So they bought a 1975-ish motorhome, and they are living at one of their parents' house, and they are renovating this motorhome and making it modern and fresh, but keeping a 70s vibe. And I'm telling you, neither of them had any experience doing this kind of stuff before, and they are doing really, really good with it. And I'm like, I couldn't even build anything like that, nor would I be able to, with experience, run a power tool or put in new flooring in there, refurbishing it. And oh my goodness. So it's going really well, even though they're learning as they go and they've made mistakes and had to rip it out. And that's what I love about it. So The Endless Adventure, it's fun. They also have some fun things when they were able to travel the world. They have some really good videos on their travels. They went to some really great places, and they're worth watching. But other than that, my husband has quite a few that he watches. And so remember, I also watch Just Get It Done Quilts. I talked about her earlier, but she's got quite a few videos that are fantastic. I would say watch that. Teresa Down Under does short video how-tos with making blocks. A lot of them are quick, and she puts a lot of her show notes, and she's on Instagram also. I really enjoy her channel because she gives me ideas on alternate ways to construct blocks in a more timely and fast manner. The other Jordan Fabrics, I think it's Jordan Fabrics, I watch her also. There's so many people that have great podcasts and things on YouTube also. So if you're into podcasts with people talking, you want to see them talk, and you're getting lonely for people and seeing them while they talk, there's many of them out there. My podcast, though, on YouTube is in audio format because, COVID hair, seriously. Even though I'm able to get a haircut, I'm wearing it shorter, and I like it shorter. I think I'm going to keep it shorter, but it still gets way out of shape. I got to go get it cut next week before all of this stuff, the funeral and seeing my family and everything. So hopefully I'll get that done. So that leads me to, been watching a lot of the YouTube channel called Pressure, Pressure, Pressure Luck. He has a cookbook now in print, and I've been watching a lot of his shows on YouTube about how to make things dinner wise, because I am um, what shall we say? Cooking challenged because I don't like it. I don't like cooking. I like baking occasionally, but I don't like cooking meals. So the Instant Pot has actually made it to where I don't mind now because you put all the stuff in the Instant Pot. They're mostly one step meals, and I've made a couple of his that I thought were really good. And one was a fajita chicken. That was a really good one. He has beef stew. We've had his version of corned beef and all kinds of things. So I've been watching a lot of his basically video tutorials on how to use his, how to make things and use his recipe. Just a second. My phone is buzzing. I can't, it's really distracting. One moment, please. I also tried another recipe that is out there, and it's basically interesting because you could do this however you wanted. And if I can find the link again, I'll put it in the show notes. But it was called Korean barbecue. Um, Ground meat, ground beef. I put ground turkey in there because I don't like draining the fat out of the Instant Pot because I'm short and get burned. So I use ground turkey and you don't have all of that to drain out. And then I can't find all of the ingredients, but I put some of the spices that they have in there, but I can't get sesame oil. And the pandemic is not a time to buy a small amount of sesame seeds or sesame oil up here in northern Michigan. You can't find it. So I bought this jar of Korean barbecue sauce. And what was in it, oh, it's hot and it's good, but it's not like so hot it's painful and hurts you, but it's spicy. But what was really, really interesting about this recipe is they gave you a way to do sticky rice and not mix it in with the barbecue sauce and put it in a cheesecake pan on a trivet above the meat as it cooks. It was delicious and it worked out really, really well. So you could experiment with your own version. The rice to water ratio is different than your traditional rice, but I thought that was very cool because you didn't have everything all mixed up in a stew, right? So I'm going to try a couple of other recipes, and I'll be honest, I am going to buy this cookbook because I'm tired of printing off all of these recipes and having them scattered all over the house and not in order. And then I have them mixed up because, even though I have a file folder with all of my recipes in order, I print these off and stuff them on top, and now they're all mixed up. And this is why I think I'm organized. But to be honest, people, I'm really not. My house is a train wreck with lack of organization. It's kind of what I would call chaotic organization. Things are in boxes and totes, and things are on the surface look good. But much like my recipe collection, it's quite a disaster. When you start looking for things, as I can't always find them. It's a good thing that for at work, I have people who help me with appointments, and they're very organized people and they know how to do spreadsheets. And I can fill in the blanks on the spreadsheet, but I can't make one. And I'm kind of not motivated to learn. And the other part of it is there are people who help remind me of things that I need to do. And there are the administrative people who make reports, and then they tell me that certain things are overdue, and then I've learned how to run my own report so that I can stay ahead of it. Love computers for that, because if I had to depend on the file folder system, which I did early in my career, totally sucks because I can't find anything because I have no idea where I put it or what it may have been filed under, much like my craft room and other places in my house with important papers. It's a disaster, folks. It is complete disaster. I've tried every organizing system in the world and trying to make myself stick to a very complicated file folder. What I would call people who have this OCD knack of having everything in its place and that kind of stuff. It doesn't work for me, and I really understood it more when I've talked about Clutterbug, and I've read her books, and she's a great person who has a different styles for people like me who I just want it in a box somewhere. I need what she calls macro organizing. And some things are doing really well. But don't ask me where a certain fabric is or a certain piece of paper. I can point you in the general direction and then wait about an hour or a day for me to rummage through the boxes where it's macro organized, because I don't have micro organization down at all. So I keep trying to retrain my thought of it's a train wreck, because quite honestly, it's just different than what other people have. And I can't and don't, not able, I don't know what it is, to be able to fit to that conforming of putting things, these micro organizing systems in place. Sometimes it's frustrating, but my ADHD brain is like all over the place so much, and I can't even file printed recipes. Yes. The best thing that ever happened with automation and electronic mail, that we call now email, is that I don't have to deal with bills getting lost. Yes, what a disaster. Those were like topics of not really fights, but getting irritated with each other, and I don't have to even worry about that anymore because everything is online. It's been the best. It's absolutely been wonderful. So what have you been up to? Are you hitting the wall with the pandemic? Are you still locked down? Are you more like where I'm at, where we can go to the gym if you want, but I'm not going to the gym. I'm doing my isometrics at home, and I'm walking around the block when I can, kind of like a plant. Feed me, water me, get me outside. Or I can get my hair cut too. Or are you like where my mom's at, where she has not been able to get a haircut appointment? Our library finally opened up, but I'm reading books and audiobooks. Lots of podcasts and television, and just a lot of quiet around my house. Or are you like my daughter, who's got all the kids at home? The house is bursting at the seams. There's 2 adults working, all the children being schooled. She's continued schooling all summer because she said there was just months there where learning was not happening in the way she thought it would be conducive to keeping the kids up to where they should be for their young age. And you know, that I want to give hugs to those who have had to make the decisions over schooling and even things like what we're going through. Trying to plan a memorial service, a wedding, or anything like that during this has been absolutely difficult. And one way or another, our memorial service for the mother-in-law is going to happen this month, and then we can move on to other things. Hopefully, I know some friends of ours who are going to get married, are still getting married, but putting off the ceremony, the public ceremony, and the reception, you know, the church wedding, the reception, and wearing the dress and all of that for next year. And I'm hoping that it can happen next year. You know, I'm dreaming of traveling and going back to my old YouTube people, and every once in a while checking out places or looking at history or videos of places like Scotland, Ireland, Wales. Yes, I dream of going to those places. So there's lots of dreaming, lots of planning and squirreling money away for the someday vacation. I've taken 2 vacations off the books this summer and last spring, but I may take a 4-day weekend coming up just because sometimes you need those mental health days, even if we don't travel far. But yeah, it's just a lot of dreaming and planning. And I've gotten over the hump since we painted the kitchen of looking at my house and thinking that it needs to be blown up with dynamite and rebuilt. So if I'm going to give you one last channel that I watch all of their releases, it's called The Holderness Family. And I had to really, really laugh because I identify with the wife so much. She and her husband both work from home full time, run a couple different businesses. They're homeschooling their children. for the summer, the virtual learning. I'm not sure what they're doing for this fall, but they've done a series of COVID or pandemic videos for months. And this week was, you've been home too much when. And I'm not going to give away the whole video in case you watch it, but she said that exact same thing. She's like, I've been on Pinterest and I'm pinning all of the rooms and the decor, and can we just knock this wall out, and can we do this, and and her husband's eyes are getting big, and my husband's looking at me laughing because we watched these together in the evening. He's going, that is so you. I'm like, oh, I know. Can you knock that off? Can we build a second floor? Can we gut the whole house and redo? Can we paint? Can we? And then we both look at each other and go, oh, the kitchen was enough. Because it leads to other things, as I talked about last time. But there's no big money investment in going to the dollar store or the thrift shop, picking up a couple focus things you want for fall, which I did a couple weeks ago. And September 1st, I have found all the rest of my pumpkins and my fall themed things and all of the quilts that I have made over the years that can spruce up all of my rooms quickly. And that's what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks. It'll be time to change out all of the quilts that I currently have out. I am not going to blow up the house with dynamite. We already had a dumpster here and got rid of a lot of things. So you know what? Now it's just time to change the wall art, get the new season of stuff out. I purchased 5 $1 items at the dollar store that will be some focal point things for my fall decor. And I'm going to keep scouring Pinterest and the Cricut Design Space for patterns for new things. And I plan on making a lot of stuff with all of the stuff I have sitting right here at this house as I continue to social distance for the most part. But we are loosening up a little bit. And the thought of getting out in the community and going back to the office a day or two a week isn't so scary anymore. So you guys, that's such a Michigan thing, isn't it? You guys, oh boy. Every once in a while, my Michigan, what do you call us? Figures of speech come through with my accent. And I hope everybody has a most wonderful week and that your last 2 weeks of summer are fantastic. I did say I was going to get to tourists, and all I can say is this has been the most tourist-laden summer because we're kind of open. And then the cities down south of us, like Detroit and Grand Rapids and Lansing and Flint, lots of people, they're very locked down still. And it's going to be 2 more weeks of lots and lots of tourists. Lots of people are flocking up north. Lots of people have second homes. Camping is allowed. The beaches are open. Please be careful because social distancing isn't always heated at some of those beaches. And so like just getting out to like go get a coffee is almost impossible just for something for me to do because the drive-throughs have 10 to 12 cars all the time, every day. Doesn't matter when, because the restaurants are limited and many really didn't open up. And those who have posted about the abuse that they're taking from people over masks and over waiting and over everything. So I'm just thinking that we're all getting tired of all of this. But be kind to one another. Be kind to the people who are in essential positions. And I'm just looking forward to the last 2 weeks is going to be that big push up through Labor Day of tourism. And then it's like a big relief. We'll have some tourists with the fall, but nothing like summer and beach going and all of that, because a lot of these people are family and have children in school. No matter how they are educating their children, it just naturally slacks off. So I am looking at 2 more weeks of being home and in my house and avoiding the long lines at the grocery store and I'm not going to Starbucks just to get a cup of coffee. I'll just make, maybe I'll do that in September. Maybe that will be my September goal, to keep my driving skills up. I will go to Starbucks to try to get a pumpkin spice latte, because I've never had one. Yeah, can you believe it? I've never had one, but I'm not doing that until after tourist season. Um, they can. I hope they all have a wonderful time, but I'm looking for some relief. So, anyway, y'all have a great day. I hope your week is wonderful. And remember, my week was brought to you by Yellow, Yellow being sunshine and joy. I hope that your day is full of all good things during this time. And let me know what you're up to. Let me know what you're making. Leave comments on my blog at My Creative Corner 3 for the show notes, or you can always send me an email at vholloway12345@gmail.com. Don't forget that I have a Etsy shop where you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee, and might take your virtual cup of coffee Etsy purchase and go to Starbucks next month, and I will give you a full report on what I think pumpkin spice coffee or lattes taste like. And the other thing that's on my Etsy shop, which is My Creative Corner 3, one word on Etsy, is my Zen and the Art of Creativity. It is a premium podcast. It's less than $10. I think it's priced at $8. I'm terrible. Don't even know. Which is what? Is that 2 coffees? Yeah. And it has some great ways to deal with stress and creativity and keeping your mind clear and open for the creative process. So, take care, everyone, and have a most wonderful week. Quilt on.